And welcome back. It is the 15th of June, halfway through the month, higher plus 5 a day. And let's go straight to the first question. Right, what do we have? Tom and Ben sit their driving test. The probability that Tom passes is 0.4. The probability that only one man passes is 0.56. Find the probability that both fail. You may assume the events are independent, which you have to do because otherwise conditional makes it impossible. Okay, is this a Venn diagram or is it easier? I'm pausing while I think about the best thing. I'm going to do a tree diagram. So a tree diagram tells me that Tom, so this is Tom here, so Tom is either going to pass or fail. You're watching me think this through because I'm not actually 100% sure what I'm going to do here. And then we've got pass and fail for Ben, and Ben is going to be a pass or a fail. Looks like a weird P, so I'll write that P again. What information do I get? So they get that the probability that Tom passes is 0.4, which means he fails with a 0.6, so that's okay. The probability that only one man passes is a probability of this thing here happening or the probability of this thing here happening. In other words, a pass and a fail or a fail and a pass. And I know those things add up to 0.56. I can't think of another way of doing this, which doesn't involve me saying that that's x, which means that's 1 minus x, and that's x, and that's 1 minus x. In other words, I'm saying the probability that Ben passes is x%, and then I've done 1 minus for a fail, which means that this is 0.4 times 1 minus x, and it means this is 0.6 times x. And I know, again, you're hearing me think this through now, so I know 2/5, 0.4 times 1 minus x plus 3/5 of x. Add these together and I get 0.56. That's what it tells me in the question. Okay, now I need to solve this. So the first thing I'm going to do is, actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it like this and just use my calculator. So I've got 2/5 minus 2/5 x plus 3/5 x, which gives me obviously a fifth x, and that equals 0.56. I'm going to take away 2/5 on both sides, which is going to give me, well, 2/5 is 0.4, so that gives me 0.16. Minus 2/5 plus 3/5 is 1/5, so that's 1/5 x, which means that x is 16 times 5, which is 80%, isn't it? I'm going to check my calculator. 0.16 times 5 is indeed 80%. Now, what have we found out? We have found out the probability of Tom, no, not Tom, Ben passing is 80%, which means the probability of him not passing is 20%. So this is 20%. And this is 80%, which means I can now, what I'm trying to do, find the probability they both fail. So in other words, actually this isn't too bad, is it? So I want fail, 0.6, times by fail, which we worked out is 20%. So it's just going to be 0.6, Tom fails, times 0.2, hold on, let's get that right. So x is passed, yeah, so 0.2, which is going to be 0.12 or 12%. Wow, that's quite a difficult question. Good question. That it's again one of these that sort of watch it through twice, have a think through. You can use a Venn diagram, but I think this is probably the easiest way of doing it. Next question. Here's a square-based pyramid. Calculate the volume. Oh, clever. Right. So it gives us something where we have to back into the height. When you get a question about volume, think about how to work it out. So it's going to be 1/3 times the area of the base times by the height. I've got the base, I just need the height. And the way I'm going to have to do that is I'm going to have to construct this triangle here, which is going to allow me, using the angle I'm given, to work out the height. How else can I do that? Well, I know that the angle is 60. I can work out A to C. So let's do this separately. So A to C, using Pythagoras, is going to be 40 squared plus 40 squared square rooted, which is going to be 40 root 2. In other words, add two things together, take the square root, the 40 comes out. Then I know that halfway across, let's call it m because it's halfway across. So A to m is going to be 20 root 2 because it's halfway across the diagonal, which means I now have a triangle. And on this triangle, I know the base is 20 root 2. I know the height is the thing that I need in order to work out the volume. And I know this angle here is 60. It's tan, isn't it? So it's going to be tan of 60, which is root 3. Is equal to, or opposite is h that I need, divided by 20 root 2, which means, remember, tan of 60 is root 3, so therefore 20 root 2 times root 3 is root 6, is equal to h, which means, going all the way back to the start of the question, I can work out my volume, so it's going to be 1/3 times the base, which is 40 squared. In other words, it's a square base pyramid as written in the question, times by the height, which is 20 root 6. And then I can just kind of put this in exact value, or I can work out a number. So let's do both. Calculator out again. Actually, the calculator doesn't give me exact values. That's going to be fine. So the calculator says, well, it says 26127.8905, etc. I'm just going to call that 26,100 centimeters cubed because it's volume. And question done. Good question, that. Nice sort of reverse question using what you know. Next question. Melanie draws a graph of y equals this here, and I've got an A here that I don't know and a B that I don't know. Then it tells me it crosses at minus 21 and it crosses here at minus 7. I'm going to say this one here is A, so point A is A0. What does it want me to do before I jump in? So it says, what's the coordinates of A? Okay, so I can do that. Find the coordinates of the turning point. All right, okay, so this isn't too bad. The way to do this is, I know if I factorize, I can find the solution. So I know one solution is minus 7, which means it must be x plus 7. So it's like a back to front solving. The other solution is A, which means this is going to be x minus A. So in other words, this A here that I don't know. And I know when I expand it, I'm going to get the equation that I need, which is going to be x squared. Actually, I'm not going to call it A, because otherwise the A will get confusing. So I'm going to call this D, just so it's a different letter. So I'm going to change this A here to a D, so the A's don't get confusing. And that's because in the question it says x squared plus AX plus B. Now imagine expanding this. If I expand just the numbers, in other words, these here, that gives me that minus 7D is equal to B. And I know B is the C term, which is minus 21, which is minus 21. So in other words, minus 7D equals minus 21, which means that D is equal to 3. That means that the point A is going to be equal to 3, 0. Which also means, going back to the red D above, I know my expression can be written as x plus 7, x minus 3, which expands to x squared. 7 minus 3 is 4, so plus 4x minus 21, which means this is my A in the question, and this is my B in the question. Doesn't say that, but I feel I might need that next. Next part, find the coordinates of the turning point. Now, a few ways of doing this, but actually I think, given I've just worked it out, let's use that above. So I've got x squared plus 4x minus 21. Complete the square is x plus 2 squared minus 4 minus 21, which is going to give me a turning point of minus 2. Minus 4 minus 21 is minus 25, so minus 2 minus 25. Again, cleverly worded questions. Good question. I like that question. Next one. Oh, and final question today. Shown as a right angle triangle. Now, you don't learn a lot about right angle triangles at GCSE, but the one thing you do learn is Pythagoras. And I can see it's giving me all three sides. So this is a Pythagoras question. So I know that 4x minus 3, because it's a right angle, must be equal to x plus 1 squared plus 2x plus 4 squared. Basically, I'm going to expand and solve. So let's just do that very carefully. So 16x squared minus 12 times 2 is minus 24x. Plus 9 is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 1 plus, well, 2x plus 4 squared is going to be 4x squared plus 4 times 2 is 8, double is 16x plus 16. Now, very carefully, let's move into the left-hand side. So 16x squared, I'm going to tick them off, minus x squared minus 4x is going to give me 11x squared. Minus 24x minus 2x is minus 26x, minus another 16x is minus 42x. Yeah, minus 42x. And 9 minus 1 is 8, minus another 16 is minus 8. So that's going to give me minus 8 is equal to 0. Now, I fully suspect that I can factorize this, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to go straight to the quadratic formula. So therefore, x is equal to 42 plus minus, so minus minus 42 is plus 42, plus minus 42 squared minus 4 times 11, God, this is horrible, isn't it? Times by 8, which is minus, so it makes this a plus here. And all of that's divided by 2 times 8, which is going to be 22. Now, if the square root bit gives me a nice number, it probably means I've done the right thing, but let's see. Doesn't mean I haven't, but it probably does. So 42 squared plus 4 times 11 times 8 square rooted is indeed 46. So I feel quite good about this. So it's going to be 4 plus minus 46 divided by 22. So the plus version is just 4, and the minus version is minus 2 over 11. Now, Let's go back. Let's remember these are lengths. So therefore here, if I do 4 times 2 over 11, which is 8 over 11, take away 3, that's going to be a negative number. So it can't be that one. So therefore my x is equal to 4. First answer, or last answer today, x equals 4. Good question. These questions are quite tough, definitely quite challenging. So let me know how they went for you. As ever, do like, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.